Yes, people, what's going on? Another week, a great energy. Of course, you know what time it is. It's time for the heat check. And of course, I'm your boy, Jaydee Dyer. And I'm excited this week because we've got new faces coming into the WNBA. And of course, it's a record breaking week for none other than Steph Curry. But here to unpack it all, break it down with me is the Heat Check family, host of the new NBA Snapchat show In the Paint, my guy, the hoop genius, the double M, Mooncey, and of course, the three-time NBA champion. But don't let that smile fool you because I told you, he knows his X's and O's. My guy, BJ Armstrong. Shout out to the fourth member of the team as well, who should be handling his business right now for Le Mans. Ovi, we see you. You better come back with a W, especially if you're going to miss Heat Check. But, Mandem, how we doing? Mo, what's going on, bro?
Listen, first day, I just want to say Ramadan Mubarak to all my people out there, to everyone celebrating, to everyone fasting, maintaining. Hope you're staying blessed. Hope we can use this month for some spiritual reflection. And more importantly, it's more than just being hungry. Let's make sure we're doing some stuff in our communities to make the lives better for everyone around us. So just a Ramadan Mubarak to everyone out there who's celebrating this blessed month.
Conscious, my brother. I love the start. Yeah, BJ, how you checking in from California?
Oh man, things is beautiful, man. It's peace, love, happiness, and a little NBA sprinkled in there. So it's great here to be here with my family. Love it. And JD, take it away. Do what you do, baby. Let's get after it.
Hey, let's go.
I will say this though.
Go on, then.
JD, I gotta let the people know. I ain't eating for 12 hours. So these takes that you come with, you better come correct. Because I got some hunger in my belly right now. So we better not have a repeat of last week's episode. Better come correct with these takes this week, JD. That's all I'm saying to you, my brother.
Listen to me, Mo. You know our friendship is a brotherhood. So I'm never going to lie to you to your face and tell man and say, some of these takes might wind you up a little bit. That's what I'm going to say to you. Yeah. I ain't never going to lie to you, my bro. But look, let's start off with the latest news. And the wheels of the WNBA free agency has stopped spinning. And after Sanford, of course, won that NCAA tournament and crowned themselves the 2021 champions, we need to get ourselves ready now for the beginning of the draft season. On April 15th, we can do that. Now, if you're a Dallas Wings fan, I know you're excited because you had 3 of the top 5 picks, including 1 and 2. But I know if you're an Indiana Fever fan, I know you're really excited. And I'm really impressed I can remember this. The 4, the 19, the 24, the 26, the 31, and the 33 in Thursday's draft. So, BJ, there's so much to unpack. But how do you expect these franchises to revolutionize themselves as we get ready for the draft?
Well, I think the draft is always an exciting time. There's a lot of optimism in the air. There's a lot of encouragement of saying we can improve our team. So anytime you have the draft, it allows teams to feel that they have an opportunity to have a chance. You know, if anything in sports, it's always hope. And as long as you can see help is coming on the way, or you see an opportunity to improve your team, improve your franchise. So the draft provides that. There's always a lot of great talent, and you try to choose that talent, just going to help your team, you know, improve because, you know, that's the relationship with the fans and that franchise.
Spoken like a true pro. I love it. Yeah, but Mo, you know the future of this league is so healthy. I think about Asia Wilson, Sabrina Ionescu that's coming to the league, Jackie Young. Who do you think is going to be the player to watch from this draft class?
You know what, JD? I couldn't tell you that right now because I've still got some more scouting to do. I don't know. It's not like in my opinion, we got to predict not just who's going to make the first entrance to the league. I'm thinking long term, in 10 years, who are we going to be talking about that team to regret passing up on draft night? So I can't give you that answer right now. But what I can say is I'm very excited to see Sabrina back in action, who missed last season with a lot of injuries. I just had my New York Liberty jersey come through the mail this morning. So I'm excited to see that because the whole range of jerseys that the WNBA dropped are absolutely fire. And I'm going to get back to watching some of these prospects after we're done filming here today.
Talking of jerseys, Mo, I need to know who Dejanay Carrington is going to get drafted to because that is my favorite player to watch last year in the NCAA. Wherever she gets drafted, that's the jersey I'm picking up for next year because that's a definite bucket walking into the WNBA. I'm excited. Yeah, but moving on and talking about buckets. Gentlemen, last night, you know group chat's always a little bit active, but last night my phone rings, dings off a couple times, and all I see at the bottom of the messages is message from BJ Armstrong, chef is cooking, and it was confirmed, because Steph Curry did surpass Wilt Chamberlain last night as the all-time scorer in terms of Warriors history. 818 points he's got right now and counting. BJ, his legacy is cemented, in Warriors history. But contextually, can you bring it down, especially for some of the younger viewers, how big of an achievement it is to pass Wilt?
That's an amazing achievement because, as you follow the NBA, it seems like Wilt Chamberlain did everything. And last night, as I was watching the game, it was incredible. Bravo for, first of all, to Steph Curry, his family, and what he's achieved. I mean, that's an incredible achievement to be the all-time leading scorer in the history of the Golden State Warriors. There's been some amazing players that have come through there over the years. But the thing that stood out most to me is it's taken Steph Curry like 700, I think it was 45 games, and it only took Wilt Chamberlain 400 and something games to do the same thing. So it's an incredible achievement, but Wilt did it in half the time. So Wilt Chamberlain is, whenever I look at one of his records, I go, how good was he? So you can see why Wilt is on my back here right now, because he is the bar of standard of excellence for every player that comes into this league. But bravo to Steph Curry. What an amazing achievement. And when I tell you, JD, he was cooking last night, the chef was cooking curry chicken last night. He was unbelievable, and an incredible game for him, but an incredible career, because he is really, guys, he's achieved far and beyond what anyone could have foresaw when he was coming into the draft 10 years ago, whenever he came into the league. So, but it's incredible to watch him play, and we should cherish every moment of it.
Mo, in true Steph Curry fashion, he didn't just surpass Wilt. He turned around and said, I'm going to drop a 50-piece on the Nuggets, which I just think kind of defines everything that is Steph Curry. But 17,000 points for one franchise, that is really unheard of in this modern game where your players are moving around all of the time. Can you put it into context how big of a moment this is for Steph?
Listen, JD, we always say this. We always say the marathon continues. And if you think back to the early career of Stephen Curry, a lot of people counted him out. All those ankle injuries, Warriors didn't want to pay him. That's how they put that crazy team together, because he was on such a small contract, because they didn't think he'd ever get healthy. A lot of teams disrespected him around the league. A lot of teams didn't want to pick him in a draft. A lot of teams didn't want to trade for him when they were offering him in trade talks. And every single one of those teams is regretting it right now. So I just want to say congratulations to Stephen Curry for persevering through the injuries and proving that anything really can be achieved through hard work and dedication. I also want to say, Ovi, you're not here today. You've been quiet. A few weeks ago on the show, you were saying Steph Curry's not the best point guard in the league. Where are you at today, my brother? That 53-piece for your head top. I'm looking forward to next week's show. Let's get it cooking.
He's not even here and he's catching strays. He's watching. He's catching strays.
He's watching. I'm just saying, anyone who doubts the greatness of Stephen Curry is absolutely foolish. Let this be a lesson to everyone out there who's hating on the chef.
Mo, let's stay in terms of the Warrior-themed news, because there was some distressing news as well. We saw that James Wiseman has suffered a tear in his meniscus in his right knee and could actually miss the rest of the season. I want to talk about Jamal Murray as well, and BJ, I'll get onto that in a second. But how big of a blow is this, first of all, Mo, for the Warriors in their playoff ambitions?
Man, this is absolutely devastating. You never want to see any player getting injured, especially, James Wiseman, who's had not the easiest start to his career in the NBA. He's still finding his feet in this Warrior system that they're playing. And, he's still developing as a player and learning every day. And now to be hit with an injury like this is absolutely devastating. For the Warriors team, I didn't really have high expectations for them after the Klay Thompson injury. So I don't think it really affects things. I don't really see them going deep into the playoffs regardless. So in terms of that aspect, I think it's just important that they give James Wiseman the time he needs to rest and recover. And you also have to bear in mind, though, the one thing that's great about being with the Warriors organization, even though he's out injured, you best believe Draymond Green isn't giving him a day off. He's going to be in his ear all day, every day, making sure he studies the game, even while he isn't out there on the court.
And BJ, on what was supposed to be an important comeback night for Jamal Murray against the Warriors, it actually turned into a bit of a nightmare with that sort of a leg injury that we're seeing right now. I mean, look, the scans still have to be taken and sort of the doctors have to give their reports back and the MRI scan. But at this moment in time, how scared are you in terms of that injury for Jamal Murray, especially with him building his comeback?
Well, there in Nugget Nation, we all took a deep breath last night when we saw Jamal Murray go down with that, what looks or appears to be a significant injury. Let's hope that maybe it's a strain or he'll be out for a short while and return back, because, Jamal Murray is an important piece, but he's part of the family. of the NBA family. And it's always difficult to see a player go down. You know, it didn't appear to be, no one was around him. And we've seen these injuries time and time again. So let's keep our fingers crossed, send our prayers up, and hopefully Jamal Murray will get back on the floor. But he didn't look good, guys, last night. If you saw the game, it happened late in the game. And for all of the Denver Nuggets fans, I know they were excited. I was excited to see him get back on the floor. But unfortunately, this did occur. But let's hope that he gets back, speedy recovery. And we'll be talking about Jamal Murray, how we're supposed to talk about him, what he's doing, the brilliant things he does on the court when he is healthy.
Speedy recovery to both of those players and obviously in their road to recovery. But I do want to talk about one more thing that's really important, gents, and that's talking about owning of new spaces. And Alex Rodriguez and his close friend, Mark Lahore, which to most of us we wouldn't know, but contextually is the former CEO of Walmart, are actually finalizing the deal to become the new owners of not only the Minnesota Timberwolves, but the Minnesota Lynx as well, from the current owner, Glenn Taylor. Look, the purchase price is expected to be about $1.5 billion. And this is a massive transition, BJ, because I'm looking at the Timberwolves, I'm looking at the history in Minnesota, and obviously the future of that franchise. Could you actually see this deal happening? And how big of a deal could it happen?
Well, we've seen this before. You know, there's been rumblings up in Minnesota for years that Glenn Taylor and the Minnesota Timberwolves have been up for sale. I mean, as recently as you saw a group put together by Kevin Garnett was trying to purchase the team as well. So we've been hearing this, and suddenly out of nowhere, we get what we consider a Woj bomb, right? From our good friend over at ESPN who took, gave us the tweet in the middle of the night, literally, about the possibility. So I'm hoping that it does happen. I'm hoping, that if this is the case, that, that A-Rod, who seems to be heading up this group to buy this team, to buy the Minnesota Timberwolves, I hope it does happen. We've seen A-Rod involved in purchasing sports teams here in the States before. I think they put together an offer to buy the New York Mets. Professional baseball. We didn't expect A-Rod and company to be in basketball, but here we are. And if it does happen, I think it would be great. It's great for the team. What a tremendous opportunity to get into the business. And more importantly, I mean, what do you say, $1.5 billion? That's no chump change. And it's an incredible thing. So we'll see what happens. Keep our fingers crossed. I think it's good business for the league, and it'll continue to move the league forward. And what a great opportunity it is to have A-Rod now, a former baseball player in the NBA.
Mo, I also want to get your perspective because I know what Kevin Garnett means to you. He obviously did announce his initial interest in purchasing the franchise. I think it was last July. We know his history with Minnesota. That doesn't look like it's going to sort of materialize at this moment in time. But are you concerned at all that the NBA players aren't really getting first dibs in terms of opportunities to buy these franchises?
It's an interesting situation in Minnesota. Minnesota Timberwolves have been awful for so long. They fumbled so much talent. Let's think about it. Jimmy Butler, Kevin Love, Kevin Garnett. The last time they were even competitive enough to be enjoyable to watch was when Kevin Garnett was leading that team in the Western Conference playoffs. So to disrespect this man by not giving him the chance to purchase this franchise himself, I think is outrageous. Nothing would be better for the Minnesota Timberwolves franchise and the city of Minnesota than Kevin Garnett to own that team or be part of the ownership group for that team, because that man is the most passionate, the most loyal. You got to think about it. How many years he's stuck with that terrible, terrible team. What do they surround him with? Everyone talks about LeBron not being surrounded with talent in Cleveland. Well, think about Kevin Garnett. They gave him nothing. They gave him a couple guys for maybe 1 or 2 seasons and they got injured anyway. He was loyal to that team. That's a loyalty that you don't find out here anymore. So I really wanted KG to own this team. KG deserved to own this team. KG's got the bag to own this team, and I'm just upset that it didn't happen. But fair play, A-Rod. I don't know about baseball. I don't know who you are, but salute to you getting your bag up and buying that team, because it's about time they had a change of ownership there.
Can we get a graphic built of like Mo's angry meter. Can we just get one built just like mid-show right now? Like just his head. I just need his head. And like at the end, I need really hot and I need really cold down here. And just watch it build.
I'm smiling, baby. I'm smiling though.
And look, serious news. Credit to all of the Minnesota teams as well, the sporting franchise, because the Timberwolves, the Twins, and the Wild all announced yesterday would postpone their games on Monday following the unlawful killing of another unarmed black man in Dante Wright. Look, our thoughts and our prayers are first of all going to go with Dante and his family because, again, we've seen the injustices around the world and we already know that we're continuing all together to fight one of the biggest viruses that is happening around the world. So, yeah, just take a minute to take that in and thank you again for Minnesota for taking a collective step forward for the right things. Let's dive into Hot or Not, man. Now, you don't know me. You don't know my story. I'm very proud of one thing, yeah? I'm London raised, but Arizona very much adopted me, yeah? And when I turn around and think about Arizona, the first thing that comes to my mind is the Phoenix Suns, because I have to break this down into context. And sometimes we don't give the Phoenix Suns the love they deserve. Yeah, the Suns this year have the biggest differential of any team from this year compared to last year. Chris Paul was one of the biggest moves we saw in all of the trade deadline, but I'm talking contextually for November because that's the month I was born. He revolutionized Jay Crowder. We've seen them do everything. And this has all been a part of a 2-year process. So I'm going to give someone their flowers that they don't always deserve it. And James Jones right now, gentlemen, listen to what I'm saying to you. James Jones deserves to be the executive of the year. So BJ Armstrong, you've sat in every shoe that is this NBA world. The big visionary that is James Jones. Do you agree with this hot take?
You know what, JD? I can't be mad at this take. I can't be mad. And I never thought a year ago I would be saying this, that James Jones would be in contention for, executive of the year. And this all started, guys, back in the bubble. I mean, they were undefeated in the bubble. And then they add Chris Paul to that group. So to watch this team, to watch them now currently, they are in second place in the Western Conference. It's been an amazing transformation for this organization. So I think this is a hot take, but I also want to give a shout out to the New York Knicks. Scott Perry of the New York Knicks, because here's another franchise that we didn't expect to be in the playoffs, making a playoff push. And I think he should be in contention. And also, I think the dark horse is Travis Schlink down there in Atlanta. I know, JD, you love the ATL. We didn't expect them to make this turnaround. They've had some things going on, but Travis Schlink, along with Scott Perry, should definitely be mentioned. But James Jones, I can't argue with that one because it's been incredible to watch this organization really do a 180. They've really turned things around there. They're playing great basketball. And right now, I can't believe it. They are literally in second place, and the Western Conference is packed with great players and great talent, and they're right there in the thick of it.
Historically, Mo, we've seen it all the time. The GM of the year goes to the person who made the best deal. Well, cue Sean Marks, because he would definitely be entering the conversation and say the trade that he had for James Harden challenges everything that James Jones has done this year. But I'm looking at it contextually, and I'm saying to you already, the vision that he had 2 years ago, to see it playing out how it's playing out right now. Do you agree, Mo? James Jones is the GM of the year.
I have a lot of respect for James Jones. James Jones, I was listening to a story from a player in the league yesterday who was saying James Jones watches more film than anyone else around the entire NBA. He studies the game like no other, and that's the reason you're seeing the success. I've got a lot of respect for him and what the Phoenix Suns have done this season. They've had a great year. They traded for Chris Paul, which was great because they avoided paying Kelly Oubre. They proved to Devin Booker they're serious about winning. However, JD, what else have they done in terms of front office moves? You've traded for Chris Paul. Okay, what else? I'm going to give the credit here to the coaching staff for the way that they've developed their young guys. We're talking about the DeAndre Aytons and the Bridges and Cam Johnson, and the way this year that Dario Saric is being utilized in the offense off the bench. I'm looking at that coaching staff and really giving them credit for what they've done. Because, all right, cool, he made one good move. He traded Chris Paul. He made one good trade. All right, let's talk about the Atlanta Hawks, for example. I just want to give a shout out to a couple guys right now. So Travis Schlenk, he got Danilo Gallinari, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Rajon Rondo, who turned into Lou Williams. He got Chris Dunn, and he managed to keep the number 6 overall pick in the draft, which turned into Onyeka Okongwu, who I believe is going to turn into a very good NBA player. Why don't we talk about Rob Pelinka with the LA Lakers, who had the reigning champions, and he made somehow the Lakers an even deeper team by acquiring Montrezl Harrell, 6th man of the year, Dennis Schroeder, who should have been the 6th man of the year, Marc Gasol with buckets of championship experience, whilst keeping Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Markieff Morris, and then signing Andre Drummond just in case they need a big body to go up with in the playoffs. And then we can obviously talk about Sean Marks in Brooklyn, because I know the moves for Kyrie and KD were done before, but that trade for James Harden has really changed the Brooklyn Nets from maybe not having it all together to being a team everyone wants to talk about every day, being a team everyone's assuming is going to be in the NBA Finals. And then you've got to think about the other savvy moves he made, signing Jeff Green, Bruce Brown, Tyler Johnson, Claxton, TLC, the trade for Landry Shamet, and, of course, making the Brooklyn Nets such an attractive destination that the biggest names on the buyout market wanted to sign there, in LaMarcus Aldridge and Blake Griffin. But there's one man who did something even more impossible than all of those things. One task that I deemed impossible in the world of the NBA.
Oh, gosh.
Daryl Morey convinced someone to take on Al Horford's contract. That's right. He traded Al Horford off the Philadelphia 76ers. And then he surrounded Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons by the one thing they were lacking. He finally got them some shooters in Philly. And now for the first time, the conversation's pivoted from Philly need to break up Simmons and Embiid to now can Philly win the Eastern Conference and go on to compete for an NBA championship. So I just want to say James Jones has done great things. But if you're asking me, there's 3 or 4 guys that I've also got in the running up against him. And I want to say a shout out to Daryl Morey for what he did in Philly, because if we go back a year ago, when Jaydee, you remember being in the studio watching Philly playing that first round of the NBA playoffs? Did you think that anyone in their right minds would take on Al Horford's contract? Never. He found someone. He got the deal done. Now they're contending.
Look, shout out to Big Al, because he's still putting up numbers. He's still putting up numbers in this league. He just needed a situation that was going to suit where he is in his career.
Can I just say something, JD? Can I just say something? I just got to say something. I have to just say something, right? So part of the executives in this league that you mentioned, their job is not only to make trades and make moves, but it's also to hire the right people in place that can get the job done. So on one hand, Daryl Morey gets praise for making a move or what have you. Mm-hmm. Daryl Morey gets praise for suddenly now Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, it's working now. But James Jones doesn't get the credit for hiring Monty Williams, who perhaps will be coach of the year this year. I don't understand.
Yeah, because he didn't hire him this year. He didn't hire him this season.
But he hired him. So he put all in place. He put that in place.
But that wasn't this year. You feel me? So Daryl Morey's come in and turned that around. And it's not just one move that he made. He got Steph Curry on the roster. He got rid of a bunch of other players and replaced them with other players to come in. Like, James Jones has done great things. But when you look at an award, like when you look at the MVP award, you don't factor in what people have done last year and the year before and the year before that have led to the success this year. You have to look at the year in an individual lens. That's why I'm saying I love what James Jones has done, and I'm not taking anything away. But if we look purely at just this season in isolation, because the award is just for this season, GM of the year, not GM of the last 2 years, GM of the last 3 years, GM who laid the best foundation to eventually have success in 2021, it's GM of the year. So I can only look at this year's transactions.
So small market. Yeah, because all of those teams that you spoke about, Philly, sort of LA, Brooklyn, they're all attractive markets. They're always going to get attractive free agents, bro. But small market, biggest differential in terms of last season to this season. He gets no credit for that at all. I'm just asking, Mo.
Oh, he definitely does get credit. I'm not trying to discredit the man. But the credit for that for me goes to Monty Williams and Chris Paul for turning that around. You know what I mean? And I get that he hired Monty Williams, and I get that he traded for Chris Paul. But there are other executives who have simply made more moves. Not saying that James Jones done a bad
So
job.
more
Not
is
saying
better,
anything's taken away
or-
from him.
More is better.
Yeah, he
Are we
just made
saying-
one.
Well, the right move is the right move. You can't say because he made more transactions that he. Yeah, I just want to clarify.
I
can't say because this guy gets 10 moves,
I get it.
he's better.
No, I get it.
By that,
I get
you
it.
should say
I get
Sam
what you're
Presti.
saying.
Sam Presti should be executive of the year. I mean, he's done 1,000 things. He's got 40 first-round picks.
Sam Presti can be executive of the year in the year 2037 when he has the number 1 pick in the draft for the 10th year in a row. That's completely cool with me. But like I'm not trying to disrespect the Phoenix Suns or James Jones in any way. Okay, I'm just saying the Phoenix Suns' success, as you said earlier, JD, was part of a 2-3 year plan. It wasn't an immediate 1 year turnaround. This was expected. This was predicted. If you see where I'm coming from. Whereas when I look at the Sixers, we all thought that last season with the contracts that they had given to guys, we thought that they would be on a downhill slide. We didn't think that they would turn it around and change their roster in the way that they have. The Phoenix Suns last year, you expected them to improve. You expected them to go up in the standings. You expected them to get better and better. But that's my way of looking at this is, the Philadelphia 76ers were kind of cornered with those contracts that were given to players that weren't living up to those contracts and the lack of balance on the roster, the lack of shooting on the roster, the imbalance on the roster. That's the way that I'm looking at it. Now, I don't think James Jones needs to win this award for validation. I think they need to win a championship. And for me, the executive of the year is whoever wins the championship, you are the executive of the year.
Wait. Now James Jones has to win a championship? Come on, Mo.
Prove me wrong.
James Johnson has to win a championship? Come on. James Jones, has to win a championship to validate?
The executive of the year is the one who wins the championship.
Last year, who won the executive of the year last year? Who won it last year?
I don't even remember because it doesn't matter to me. The real winner is whoever lifts the NBA trophy.
Lawrence Frank won it last year. He didn't win the championship.
He didn't win a franchise championship. But we're going to leave this on pause.
I don't remember why I won it.
Let me tell you why we're going to leave this on pause. Because I actually think it's right that OV be here to settle the second half of this debate. So I'm actually going to put a pause on that argument right there because I needed to see a Phoenix Suns reaction to that take that he needs to win a championship in order to be the executive of the year. So we're just going to leave that there, yeah? And no two ways about it.
I'm saying the real trophy is the championship. They don't care for these awards. I'm not worried about this award. I want to see who wins the championship. That's the best executive.
The Phoenix Suns definitely have a bright future. And talking of bright futures, I want to take you back to March 27th because Rick Carlisle said something that has scared me a little bit. He's turned around and said that Zion Williamson, and you've heard this quotation before, but hearing it from a Hall of Fame, what will be a Hall of Fame head coach, is the closest thing we've seen to Shaq. And he's breaking it down from an X's and O's. He's saying, I haven't seen anybody combine the agility, the ability, the size, and to dive into those oblique angles and utilize their body as he's doing it right now. So it had me thinking this week, gents. And I need to hear this from you. And Mo, I want to hear this from you first. The way that Stan Van Gundy is utilizing Zion right now, unlocking him as that point forward, we turn around and say, I'm turning around and saying no two ways about it. He's angling him to be a dominant player for a long, long time and a future MVP, but a multiple future MVP in this league. What do you think?
JD, I'm going to say 2 sentences to you that I think are going to sum up the entire answer. The first sentence I'm going to say to you, Zion Williamson is averaging 27 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists while shooting 62% from the field. The second sentence is, this kid is only 20 years old. There is no doubt in my mind that Zion Williamson, as long as he stays healthy, provided he can maintain a clean bill of health, can go on to become an MVP in this league. Not once, but multiple times. Over the last 10 games, he's putting up 33 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. No one's done this at the age of 20, at this efficiency. We're talking about efficiency because it's impossible to stop this man when he gets inside, okay? And his game is only going to get better and better. His shooting stroke is only going to get better and better. And the real reason why I think that he can win an MVP is the New Orleans Pelicans are going to get better and better because they've got other pieces like Brandon Ingram who are also young and improving as they make their way into this league. So then when you look at the narratives, as we all know, the MVP is a narrative-based award for a lot of the people that vote for it. When the New Orleans Pelicans turn it around next year, make the playoffs, and Zion's averaging 38 and 5, shooting over 60% from the field, how can you not have him at the top of that conversation for MVP?
BJ, I want to talk X's and O's with you real quick because you watch this game. You watch this game every night. So have you noticed how low he's getting? The ability he has to change his direction. This guy breaks laws and physics every night. 285 pounds, changing at that speed is becoming to the stage where I'm labeling it unguardable. Without a shot blocker on the floor, it is becoming unguardable. And what I'm watching Van Gundy do with him this year and trusting him with them ball handling responsibilities, you tell me why this guy cannot dominate for decades. You tell me why, and hence why I turn around and say multiple MVPs, BJ.
Well, Jaydee, as I was listening to the comparison with Shaquille O'Neal, I got to pump the brakes there. I can't let this go by. I can't let this go by. I got to put this in a historical context. Okay. I can't let we say things today and then it's like, oh, wow, like no one's done this. Okay. You're talking about Shaquille O'Neal. All right. We're talking about Shaq Diesel. And Zion is putting up historical numbers. Historical, right? You look at the stats. He's averaging roughly 27 points a game. He's shooting 61% for the field. No one's done that in the history of the NBA. Okay, no one's done that, especially at his age. Okay, that's great. But now you're talking about the impact on the game and what it is we're really trying to do. Okay, the game is different. The way they play is different. The way they defend is different, so forth and so on. But he said Shaquille O'Neal. If he would have said somebody like Charles Barkley, if he would have said, Larry Johnson, okay. But you said Shaquille O'Neal. No one in the modern NBA has had the impact that Shaquille O'Neal has had. No one has had that type of impact as far as being a dominant physical force in this league. Now, Zion is putting up numbers on the offensive end, but Zion is not dominating the game on the defensive end. He's not dominating the game at rim protection. He's not dominating the game on the defensive end. And, as well as he's playing, Shaquille O'Neal demanded, you couldn't double team Shaquille O'Neal with a guard. Think about that. You couldn't even say, we're going to double team him with a guard because he was unguardable in many regards for his entire career almost. So I want to put that in context first. Now, I don't want to take away anything from what Zion has done. He's having a terrific individual season. I love how they're utilizing him. And let's hope that he can continue this. The thing that's going to be interesting, guys, over his career, right now, when you're young, you can utilize your speed and quickness. At some point, Father Time will catch up. That is a lot of body being moved around the way it's being moved around. I'm interested to see how he matures as a player, because it's fun to see players play with their athleticism early in their career. But there's a guy, Michael Jordan, at the end of his career, he was shooting fadeaway jump shots. Every player is going to have to change his game. So at some point, Zion is going to have to mature and change his game to fit wherever he's going to be at. I think he will be an offensive force. I think he's a winning player. I think he will continue to grow. But if we think that Zion is going to continue to play like he's playing right now with this level of athleticism 9 years from today, that's not going to happen. So I just wanted to say that, because the Shaquille O'Neal reference, I played against Shaq Daddy. That was a force like we've never seen, other than probably Wilt Chamberlain, that we've seen. So, I love this man, this young man, Zion. I think he's a terrific player. He's fun to watch. I mean, to watch a man, he's a very unique player. The only player I can say that I could even compare him to is Charles Barkley. And I think he's more athletic in some regards. But Charles was probably a superior rebounder than Zion, but Zion is definitely fun to watch. I think it's been a great fit for him. And the most important thing, guys, he's been healthy. And that's the most important thing. He plays the game. He's fun to watch. He's exciting to watch. And you know what? When you see a man moving around like that, because you could easily see him playing on Sunday afternoon in the NFL, to see him playing and bouncing and running over people. It's fun to watch.
Could be a linebacker, right? Could be a linebacker. Yes. I see you. I tell you what's interesting is we actually took it to a poll this week to let the people decide as to who they felt would be the next MVP and some of the superstars that are in this league. I'm just going to make this very clear. I did not choose all of the names that's on this poll. I just want to out there before them. But the people have spoken. And as you can see below, half of them, at least half of them, think that Zion will be the first player to win an MVP. Mo, I know Jason Tatum's on this list, but how do you respond to that?
I'm not mad. I can see it happening. Like I said originally, if he plays like this, I know BJ's got long-term concerns, but I believe he could win the MVP next year or the year after while he's still got that athleticism. I think he could go back to back with it the same way Giannis has done, age 25, age 26, while he still has that athleticism and while he still is unguardable. And then when we see him get to 29, 30 years old and he doesn't have that athleticism, it's going to be on how good is his post-up game now in utilizing that strength and that big body. Can he shoot it from the outside? Those are questions that are valid questions, but we don't need to worry about that now because if you can go out and get 30 points on 60% shooting, no one else in the league is doing that right now. So I'm excited to see Zion over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and I'm just hoping and praying that he can stay healthy.
He's 6'6", 285. He is scary. He is very, very scary. But you're right. It's going to be interesting to see how he develops his game. And the MVP campaign has definitely started already for next year. But you know how we do in the last take? We always, of course, take it to you, the viewer. Thank you very much, as always, for tweeting in. We see some of your takes. Some of your takes I defo don't agree with. And this one, I just want to say, I'm just going to leave it out there already and take a deep breath and say, I have nothing to do with this hot take. This is the problem with New York fans, yeah? You give them an inch of hope, they take a mile. Yeah? They take an absolute mile. And now this is good for debate, though, because these two gentlemen came into the league, very different situations, but very similar responsibilities. And this hot take speaks for itself, Mo. The New York Knicks fans in the UK, they believe that RJ Barrett is better than Ja Morant. I'm just leaving it to you, my bro. You tell me how you feel about this.
I'm going to keep it 100. I think it depends on your definition of better. Is Ja Morant a bigger star? Yes. Is he going to bring more fans into the arena? Yes. Is he going to sell more jerseys? Yes. Is he going to be able to carry a team better? Yes. But my question is this. If I'm building a championship team, I'd rather have RJ Barrett on my roster. Now, that's not to say that he's a better talent. It's not to say he's a better player, but this is what I will say is it's unfair to compare these two guys. Look at the situations they were thrown into. Ja Morant was given the keys to the Grizzlies. He got there. They said, listen, you're our guy. You're going to have the ball in your hands. You go do your thing. RJ Barrett went to New York Knicks. It was chaos until this season. Remember the Knicks last season? Remember how many jokes we were making? And now, the front office has changed. The coaching staff has changed. And you're seeing what RJ Barrett is capable of when he's got some stability. Now, look at it from a player perspective. Let's take the names and the reputation and the Rookie of the Year award out the window, right? I watched these two guys play against each other the other night. The Grizzlies played the Knicks. And it's an interesting game for me. First of all, before we get into that game, this is what I will say. RJ Barrett has a bigger body, essential in the NBA. He's got great agility. He's got body control. He can score on all levels. He's a better defender. He's a better rebounder. And then we look at the three-point shooting. Ja Morant shoots 27% from behind the arc. In a league where you have point guards like Damian Lillard, Stephen Curry, Chris Paul, all extremely effective shooters, Ja Morant is shooting 27% from behind the arc. RJ Barrett, on the other hand, is shooting near 40%. And both of them take 3.5 shots a game from behind the arc. RJ Barrett's hitting almost 40% of those. And over the past 10 games, he's been on an absolute tear. Now, I want to go back to the game between the Grizzlies and the Knicks, because I don't believe you can say one is better than the other, because that opinion can change on a week-by-week basis. RJ's been playing better for the past 2 weeks, but Ja Morant might play better for the next 2 weeks. It's impossible for me to compare these guys and say flat out that one is better than the other. But in the game that they did play against each other last week, RJ Barrett outplayed Ja Morant. And I know the box score looked nice for Ja, but I was looking at the game with 2 minutes to go. The Grizzlies were up 6. And it was interesting because, on defense, the Grizzlies were running a lot of pick and roll, pick and pop action, and RJ Barrett was getting switched on to Ja Morant. So, we're just down by 6, 2 minutes to go. RJ Barrett was playing fantastic defense on Ja Morant, traps him against the sideline, forces the Memphis timeout, so they had to burn one of their timeouts early. Then when they're calling the inbounds off the timeout, Ja Morant throws the pass that gets turned over. Okay. Then the next possession down for the Grizzlies, he gets RJ switched onto him again. RJ forces a tough pass, and then RJ recovers to the shooter that he passed it to, contests the shots, and forces the miss. Okay. Then he goes down on offense, gets fouled on a 3-point attempt, and sinks all 3 of the free throws. Ja Morant goes down the other end and gets fouled, but he goes 1 for 2 on the line. And that's a game where you're tied in the final minute of the game. The miss, RJ Barrett takes the ball full court. He scores a layup on Ja Morant. 8 seconds left for Ja to win it. He gets open, shoots the floater, and he misses. They go to overtime. RJ Barrett leads the Knicks in scoring. He makes the tie-breaking 3 with 1 minute 15 remaining, and he wins. So what I will say is, RJ Barrett, in my opinion, is playing better basketball than Ja Morant right now. But it's impossible to say flat out that one is better than the other. I don't like this comparing. They're both great young players, and we should give them both the respect that they deserve. But we do have to pay some respect to RJ Barrett because he doesn't get the love from fans, and he doesn't get the love from media because he's been on an absolute tear these past few weeks.
I think that's fair enough. You know why I think that's fair enough? Because these two are naturally going to be compared. Similar draft class. You know how it works in this league. It's always, who are you up against? Rookie of the Year honors. You know it's going to be all defensive teams, all NBA teams. These two will forever be in the similar boat because they both can shoulder that responsibility. But BJ, how do you feel about the take from the Knicks fans? Because they're saying right now, looking at the body of work both of these gentlemen have put up, and we've had a significant amount, they're saying RJ is better than Ja. So how are you feeling about that?
I'm going to choose my words carefully here because I don't like to compare players, but it's important for us because both of these young men are finding their way in the NBA. Both of these young men have figured out very early in their careers to make an impact in this league. RJ Barrett is going to be a really, really good basketball player. And the one thing I want to say about RJ Barrett is whoever he turns out to be, he will be the best version of himself because this young man has a work ethic. This young man has size, and you can see when he's on the court, he gives you maximum effort on both ends of the floor. He gives you maximum effort. Whoever RJ Barrett is going to be, if I were scouting him, I would say whoever he's supposed to be, we can be assured that he's going to be that. He's going to be the best version of himself. So I have no problem with any player who gives you maximum effort and energy on both ends of the court. If he's supposed to be a 20-point game scorer, he will be that because he's playing the game with the integrity to the game. He respects the game, and you can see. So I'm all in on RJ Barrett. Okay. But however, as a former point guard that played in this NBA and watching the impact that the game has been impacted now by small guards, Ja Morant is perhaps a generational talent. He is that good, okay? Ja Morant had the Memphis Grizzlies last year, prior to the break, in the playoffs. I'm going to say that again. Ja Morant had the Memphis Grizzlies in the Western Conference
Make sure I heard that right.
battling for the playoffs. Now, Ja Morant is as good as any guard right now in the NBA. There isn't a guard in the NBA that can stay in front of Ja Morant right now in year 2. That's a fact. Okay, Ja Morant is.
Go ahead. As good.
Let him finish.
No. I just wanted to clarify. I don't know if I misheard it.
He is.
You said he's as good as any other guy. So he's as good as Steph Curry.
His impact on the game. If Steph Curry and Ja Morant matched up in a playoff series, I'm going to say, if they matched up, I'm going to guard you and you going to guard me. I'm okay if you take Steph Curry and you give me Ja Morant. Now, if you want to start mixing and matching, if you telling me Steph Curry can guard Ja Morant, I'm okay with that matchup. If you telling me for 7 games, I can go with that matchup one-on-one, I'm okay with that. I'm not saying we going to stop him, but I know that other guy can't stop Ja Morant. Now that I know. Okay, that I know.
Games. Now Steph's taking that 4.
Oh no.
How you gonna
Oh no!
Come
no,
on.
not how this.
Come on. I said at the start. I said at the start. We need to stop. Let's pick a different example. Let's talk about Dame Lillard or someone. We need to stop disrespecting Steph Curry on the show. But anyway, I'm gonna let you continue.
Are you telling me right now that the Memphis Grizzlies will get swept right now by the Golden State Warriors right now, as is?
No.
Are you telling me that? Are you telling me that right now? Are you telling me that right now?
Is that what you're saying? Season, but that's down to the rest of the team. That's not down to Stephen Curry.
But that's what he's saying.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm not putting it on stuff. I'm just saying, as the team is currently constructed right now, if you're saying those guys,
okay. I thought you were talking if they played once.
No, if they're playing in a series or they're playing against each other, team for team, and we're saying we're going to match each other up. I'm not saying we're going to put Bazemore on and we're going to scout the game. And if we're saying, let's just match up. Everybody just mano y mano.
Yeah.
And let's just play the game.
This is why I wanted you to clarify. I was just asking for clarification.
It's very clear. It's very clear. Because I can assure you, Ja Morant is going to guard Steph Curry. I can assure you that. He wants all the smoke. Ja Morant, that young kid there, wants all the smoke. When you watch him play, he guards Kyrie Irving, he guards Steph Curry, he guards Damian Lillard. He wants all of the smoke on both ends. So this kid, Ja Morant, is a generational player, perhaps, if he can stay healthy and continue to do what he's doing, because he's an elite player at his position. He's an elite athlete on both ends of the court, and he has shown the ability to run a team in year one, which is, as a first-year player, you don't see that often. Just come into the league, you hand this guy the ball, and suddenly he's running an offense like he's been doing it for the last 10 years. That's like Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas. Those are like, you don't see that. Jason Kidd, you don't just see that. So as much as I like RJ Barrett, getting back to the original argument, this kid, Ja Morant, is a special, special talent, especially in today's game where the game is played by smaller players. The impact of players like Steph Curry, the impact of players like Damian Lillard, the impact of the smaller players because of the way the game is played is it's impacted now by smaller players. But if you're telling me, again, Mo, back to you, if you were playing the Memphis Grizzlies versus the Golden State Warriors right now, I'm okay. I feel really good about my matchup against any guard if Ja Morant has my ball. Any guard.
Okay.
You pick.
Let me ask you this.
Any guard.
Let me ask you this then, to go back to the original question at hand. If the Memphis Grizzlies are playing the New York Knicks in a 7-game series and RJ Barrett is mixed up with Ja Morant, who's winning that series?
If the New York Knicks, its team is winning or the player is winning?
Which team wins? Because that's what happens at the end of the day. Which team is going to win that series? I think those two are guarding each other. If he give me RJ guarding Ja.
Okay. Oh, RJ can't guard Ja. If you're just saying individually, no. RJ can't guard Ja.
I mean, I watched him guard him down the stretch the other night, and he did do a pretty good job and won the game.
Okay. What you're asking is, what you're saying is, individually, can he do some things against Ja Morant? Absolutely. But he better make sure that he has team defense behind him, because in isolation, there isn't anything. Because I know what speed and quickness does. There's no way that RJ Barrett or anybody can stay in front of Ja Morant. I mean, what you're saying is, you can say, that's like me saying I'm going to stay in front of Kyrie Irving. Really? Is that what you're really saying right now? You're really saying that right now? And I know Marcus Smart is your guy, but you're really telling me Marcus Smart is just going to stop Kyrie Irving in today's game?
No one stopped Kyrie Irving.
Exactly.
All I'm going to say.
So, yeah, that's all I'm saying. That's all I want to say. I'm going to let JD move on. All I'm saying is this. I think the New York Knicks do a great job on the Tibbs on team defense. But if you're telling me RJ Barrett going to stay in front of Ja Morant, really?
Really? From the future perspective, because both of these guys are going to be stars in this league, let's have a look in the past, because even though Ja currently raps the Memphis Grizzlies, we know that each and every time we see him, he's very proud of his situation right now. And RJ actually comes from Canada. I got something that's very relevant, for both of these future stars in off of the court. Sometimes in the modern world, we can sometimes forget that basketball is actually created by a Canadian. Look, shout out to James Naismith, because we actually owe you a lot for creating this game that we love so much. I say it all the time. People forget that Canada had 2 teams that played in the NBA. And as much as we saw back in 2019 how much that first illustrious NBA championship meant to Toronto and probably the whole of Canada, trust me, it's an experience I will never, ever forget. It's important to understand the entire history of both Canadian teams, because they were both formed back in 95. Because when we look at this Memphis team, we see Ja Morant, who we just spoke about, Brandon Clark, Jaren Jackson Jr., and for some of the grown heads, I know Mark Gasol, Mike Conley. Yeah, I know, I'm just playing around with your mind and letting you think about those highlight reels. Really, those legacies started up in Vancouver.
Whilst it might be a fair statement to say that the throwback garms of the Memphis Grizzlies last season were a cut above the rest, the same can't exactly be said for the team who originally wore those uniforms. Those jerseys read Vancouver, which is where the Grizzlies franchise first began. Unfortunately, their time in Canada was pretty rough, and it's probably fair to say that the Threads were the only thing the Vancouver Grizzlies ever got right. Over 6 seasons, through 5 different head coaches, the team lost nearly 80% of their games and finished with the league's worst record on 3 occasions. 95-96 was Vancouver's first season when they joined the league alongside the Toronto Raptors as part of the NBA's expansion into Canada. Ask any of the other recent expansion sides, the first year is a struggle, and both Canadian sides finished a long way shy of the playoff spots. Vancouver had it particularly rough, posting the absolute worst record in the league. They averaged less than 90 points a game and had a net rating of about minus 10.9. The next season, it somehow got worse, before a 19-win season in year 3 finally allowed them to escape the bottom spot. Even so, it wasn't much to brag about. Usually, you'd expect these records to give the Grizz good odds for the number 1 pick at some point. Sadly for the NBA's new Canadian teams, their expansion agreements forbade them from getting the number 1 pick until 1999. This ruled out the possibility for either franchise to acquire the 96 top prospect Allen Iverson or 97's Tim Duncan. That said, they were still getting high picks, which gets us on to how drafting went for the Grizzlies. With the 3rd, 4th and 2nd picks in 96, 97 and 98 respectively, the Grizz took Sharif Abdur-Rahim, Antonio Daniels and Mike Bibby. Whilst Antonio Daniels left after his first season, both Abdur-Rahim and Bibby would become crucial players for the franchise. However, with the benefit of hindsight, these drafts could have gone so much better. No disrespect to the players they selected, but here are some names left on the board. Kobe Bryant, Steve Nash, Dirk Nowitzki, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Tracy McGrady, Vince Carter, players who became superstars, reeling in fans season after season. By missing out on that kind of star power, the Vancouver Grizzlies had set the foundations for their ultimate fate. Over the next couple of seasons, with average attendance around the league dropping as a result of the 98-99 lockout, it became particularly tough for the new Canadian teams to stay afloat. They were making less on tickets whilst competing in a US league with a weak Canadian dollar. For the Grizz, their 8-42 record from 98-99 drastically damaged the appeal of Vancouver basketball for the following year. The player they drafted with the 2nd overall pick, Steve Francis, flat out refused to play for them and had to immediately be traded, and their attendance plummeted to the 3rd worst in the league. Meanwhile, over in Toronto, the high-flying exploits of Vince Carter helped the Raptors gather their 9th highest attendance. With this comparison, we see just how much Vancouver's inability to draft a star had hurt them. The 2000 to 2001 campaign brought with it a new owner for the team and a franchise-high 23 wins, but efforts to keep the Grizz in Vancouver proved futile. They took off to Memphis at the end of the season, and that was that. A new dawn in Tennessee began right on the foot of the arrival of the rookies Shane Battier and Pau Gasol, as well as the acquisition of Jason Williams in exchange for Mike Bibby. Just a few years later, there'd be a playoff team, and those days in Vancouver became little more than a footnote. At the end of the day, you've got to feel for the Vancouver basketball fans, who were teased with NBA basketball in their city before the franchise was moved nearly 2,000 miles away. Even a short trip over the border to go watch the Supersonics in Seattle would have only been a possibility for a few more years before they were moved too. However, with League Commissioner Adam Silver recently teasing the possibility of expansion, it might not be too long before we get to see Vancouver host NBA games once again.
In retrospect, the decision actually looks from the league like it was a good one. But BJ, I need you to take me back to 95 and what it was actually like when you were having to play in Canada and go over, especially on the West Coast, to Vancouver and all of it, and sort of what that expansion experience was all good.
Yeah, it was great. And honestly, guys, I enjoyed Vancouver. I thought it was a beautiful city. The fans were always great. And I always enjoyed going to Vancouver and just, seeing the excitement of fans who were so excited about, the NBA. So playing in Toronto was fabulous, but I loved it, Vancouver. I loved the expansion. And I was really saddened when the team decided to leave and go to Memphis. And I know it's always business, but honestly, if you're asking me, did I love it? I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the city. I enjoyed the fans. I thought it was great. And it was very unfortunate that we had to leave, Vancouver. It was a phenomenal city. And maybe one day they'll have a team back up in that area because they lost Seattle as well, which is, not too far away.
I mean, Mo, you actually alluded to it there. You were talking about sort of the potential for an expansion, especially in those sort of markets. Vancouver, Seattle is always talked about. Do you think the league are very much aware of the love of basketball out there still?
Most definitely, man. Most definitely. I believe, the NBA has fans all over the world, not just in America, not just in Canada, all over the world. So when you look at the expansion of the league, I don't know in what direction it's going to go, but the NBA are well aware that they've got such a large fan base and it's growing all the time. One thing I do want to say about the Vancouver Grizzlies, though, you guys see some of the collection of the jerseys. That's one of the few jerseys that I don't have in my collection. So, any of the HeatCheck family out there, if I can get my hands on one of the original Vancouver jerseys, holla at your boy.
I knew at some point. It's unbelievable.
Hey, if I don't plug myself, who's going to plug me?
That hot meter is getting a lot hotter as the show is going on. It's just going along like a bobblehead. PJ, take me back to that expansion time, because obviously you were selected in that expansion draft as well. So what was that experience like? We speak about obviously these Canadian teams coming in and we always talk about the league wanting to expand, but that was a revolutionary moment within this league.
Here's a little hot take here.
Exclusive.
People don't realize I was the first player selected in the expansion draft. I think I was in 1995 or somewhere around there, and by the Toronto Raptors, but I was eventually traded to the Golden State Warriors. So, I remember going up to Toronto, and I remember the excitement of the fans around the city at that time in Toronto, because Isaiah Thomas was the general manager at the time. So there was a lot of excitement, and to see we are the North, or we are the North now, and see the take, and for them to win an NBA championship and know the excitement of the fan base there. So I've always enjoyed it. I think the country has really, they've really just taken a liking and a love for the game. You can see the Toronto Raptors, what it means to that city, what it means to that country. And it's been amazing to watch their fan base. And when they did win the championship, I just remember looking at the parade and seeing which seemed like 1 million people were out there from all around, just taking in the excitement of winning an NBA championship. So it's been a great fan base. I think I thought it then, and I still think now, it was a great move for the NBA. It allows the team to expand. And I think Mo is exactly right. It is a global game, and you can see the impact that it has all around the world. And certainly there in Toronto is living proof of what we're talking about.
100%. The NBA is a global game, and it's actually part of the mantra as they turn around and sort of expand all of the time with their eyes and their viewers. But I want to bring your eyes and attention to the stuff that's going to be happening this weekend in the NBA, because we do have a big game, which we'll be in the studio for. Last year's Eastern Conference finalists, of course, Miami Heat, hosting the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, to list off all of the offensive threats on the court for both teams, trust me, it will take me over what's remaining on this show. So let's just say it will be entertaining. 8:30 Sky Sports Arena, also available on Sky Sports YouTube channel for both of those incredible teams matching up in the Eastern Conference. And of course, Saturday, you know what time it is, available on Snapchat. My guy right there in the paint with Mooncey. I loved last week's episode. It was interesting, man. I just loved hearing everything that you talk about, especially with those signature shoes, my guy. Yeah, I see you with Zion signature shoes. I see your vision. Yeah, but look, just some breaking news. Just some breaking news as well that's coming. We actually have had an update in regards to Jamal Murray and his injury. It's now been confirmed after the MRI scan as an ACL injury to his knee, which is obviously not good at all. We all know, we've seen this before in the league. We know what's happening. He was on of course, a comeback after having knee soreness. So again, our prayers are for Jamal Murray each and every time, man, especially with Denver doing such great things in the NBA and especially in the Western Conference. And you can see the news is hitting us quite hard. But look, there's still some great action to catch up with. Denver will be on Sky Sports this week as well. We'll see you on Sunday. Make sure you stay tuned, of course, to the WNBA draft. I already told you about my girl, yeah? Carrington, I'm ready for my jersey. Yeah, we'll see you on Sunday.
Sky Sports. Feel it all.